Outlander, 5 characters who deserve spin-offs, and 5 who don't. Given the popularity of Outlander, it's actually somewhat surprising that the series has yet to produce a spin-off, especially as there are so many characters in this world that deserve one. With Claire and Jamie wandering through decades, time periods, and all over the world, there are plenty of other characters they meet that fans just don't get to see enough of, and a spin-off would be the perfect way to change that. Of course, that's not to say that every side character in the show deserves a series of their own. Let's face it, some just wouldn't make for fascinating stories, even if they are important in the show itself. Others might have plenty going on, but there isn't enough fan interest to really carry a spin-off at all. 10 Spin-off, Joe Abernathy. Most of the spin-offs that would make the most sense are in the past, but one set a little closer to the present that we would love to see would be Joe Abernathy's story. Fans would love to see him as a young man, struggling to make it through med school despite the prejudices of those around him. Seeing him and Claire meet, building bonds, and building a connection so strong that he would eventually be one of the only people she tells about the stones, that would make for an epic spin-off, and the costuming would be phenomenal, too. 9 No spin-off, Loud Hair. It could certainly be interesting to take a look at Claire and Jamie's relationship from a different perspective, and get to see more of Jamie before Claire traveled and after she traveled back. But this just feels like it would be deeply depressing. Loud Hair is not a happy person, and goes from being bitter and jealous to being, well, older, bitter, and jealous. No one really wants to see a show that centers on such an unlikable character, or to see Jamie at his absolute worst. 8 Spin-off, Jocasta Cameron. Now this is a series that would be truly fascinating, the early life of the remarkable Jocasta Cameron. By the time that Jamie's relative appears in the show, and the books, she is older, white-haired and losing her vision. She's looking for someone to help her run the estates, but we would love to see her as a young woman. Her adventures growing up in Scotland, her many marriages, the way that she created a life in the New World. This is another strong female character, like Claire, who could easily carry her own show. 7 No spin-off, Frank Randall. Although Frank is a major character, and yet, one that doesn't get a whole lot of screen time, he's just not the best candidate for a spin-off. His story, in essence, involves him losing his wife, searching for his wife, giving his wife up for dead, finding his wife, and then having his marriage break down, and cheating on his wife. An interesting story, sure. But one worthy of a spin-off? Not quite. Not to mention that fans want to see Claire when she is being strong and sassy and challenging the old men of history, not when she is sad and lonely at home. Frank works best as a part of her life in the past, not as the star of his own show. 6 Spin-off, The Old Fox. This could easily be combined with a Jocasta spin-off, of course, but it does still feel like a story fans would want to see. Really, when it comes to any older character who has a huge impact, we're curious about how they got there, and what they were like when they were younger. Lord Lovat is a real historical figure, too, which would make writing a spin-off a little more complicated, but could also make the spin-off even more interesting. 5 No spin-off, Jenny. Much as we adore Jenny, she does work better as a secondary character than as the star of the show, mostly because her life simply isn't wild and mysterious enough to appeal to Outlander fans. For the most part, Jenny lives a life that is typical of women of the time. She grew up at home, took on the role of the woman of the house, got married, and started popping out kids. She lived through war, and fought to keep her home, but her day-to-day life is surprisingly quiet. Which is what makes her a great secondary character, not the lead. 4 Spin-off, Master Raymond. Of all the secondary characters in the series, Master Raymond may be one of the most mysterious. The apothecary that Claire becomes friends with in Paris, Raymond is accused of all kinds of sorceries, but, in the book series, at least, he is another time traveler, and likely a much more experienced one. This would be the perfect character to keep exploring time travel in a spin-off, and take us back even further in time. 3 No spin-off, Stephen Bonnet. Although Stephen Bonnet is a fascinating character, pirate, thief, he's a pure villain. Everything that he does throughout the series, and especially, the book series, makes him irredeemable, and attempting to make him sympathetic would be a seriously problematic choice. And while it's possible to have unlikable lead characters, having an outright villain carry a spin-off would likely just be too difficult. Instead, he can be kept as the secondary villain that he plays so well in the main series. 2. Spin-off, Lord John Grey. This is the big, obvious choice, and with good reason. The Outlander book series itself has a Lord John Grey spin-off series, so not only is there plenty of material here, but there is already a story in place. Adapting the spin-off series would be the easiest choice, and allows for us to see more of Jamie at different points in his history, as well as seeing how a gay man struggles with his sexuality in this time period. 1. No spin-off, Geese Duncan. This may also seem like an obvious choice for a spin-off, but Geese is such a major character in the series that she just doesn't feel like a real candidate. Most of her phenomenally exciting moments, her witch trial, her blood-bathing ways, are shown in the main series, and of course, we know how her story both begins and ends already. One of the best things about her was also her tendency to pop up and take people by surprise, which makes her a perfect secondary character. But would be ruined if she starred in a spin-off.